Have you ever thought what would it feel like to have been born in a different country than the one that you currently reside in, and or the one that you were born in? So something a little bit different. I don't know. I always thought about that. Like, what would have happened if I was born in like Canada, Mexico, United Kingdom, Russia, Japan, China? I don't know. I think obviously it'd be completely different. That's for sure. And I'm not 100% sure how my life would be in comparison to what it is now. Would I be the same? Would I have the same amount of intelligence? Would I be as sociable? Would I be as quiet or shy? Or would I be like more quiet, more shy, or I guess quieter and shyer? Whatever. I can't even speak right now. Anyways, hello everybody. This is That Manga Dude, and welcome to the reading log for December 2024. This is going to be the last reading log about 2024 and then onwards to 2025. So I actually managed to read a pretty good amount in comparison to the past couple months. October and November were extremely busy for various amounts of reasons, but December I actually managed to pack in quite a bit, and I'm kind of happy that I did because, I've been a little bit slacking on the reading side, so super happy to have been reading a little bit more and excited to talk about it now. So let's get started right now. Okay, so the first manga that I read in December of 2024 is going to be Dragon and Chameleon from Ryo Ishiyama. I ended up really liking this. This was a really cool manga. Basically, it follows a story about this big manga artist who's known as like the Dragon. He has a lot of passion for what he does, and he loves this series quite a bit. And he picks up a new assistant that is known as the Chameleon because he is able to emulate and copy other people's styles to a T, but never really had the inspiration to want to make his own series until a certain thing happens and they switch bodies. So now the Dragon has become the Chameleon, and the Chameleon and vice versa has become the Dragon. So now the Dragon must start from basically square one in order to create a new series, while the Chameleon is like, I'm gonna use this fame and fortune and be able to do what I want with the series. So it's actually a really cool idea. I like the premise a lot, and I like how deep it goes into manga creation, because I've always liked that. Bakuman, like I've mentioned before, is one of my favorite series, and this is a great new series about manga creation. So excited to continue reading this one as we get more volumes. Alright, up next, a series that I have been a huge fan of over the past 2024. That is going to be Delicious in Dungeon, and I read up to volume 11 from volume 8. And yeah, the series continues to be absolutely remarkable and amazing. It's a lot of fun, has beautiful character designs, and just an interesting and complex world that's a lot of fun to dig into. The world building is strong, the characters are strong, the art is amazing. It's just overall a really, really, really good story, and I totally get why a lot of people really like it, and I'm excited to be finishing it off in 2025. Alright, up next, I decided to read Kamikaze Girls from Novala Takamoto and Yukio Kanasada. This is a short story collection, sort of. It's weird. There's like two different stories that kind of split in half in this story, but the first half I actually really enjoyed. Follows the story about these two girls here. One girl who's kind of like dressed in more like Lolita fashion and thinks of herself as like an 1800s Victorian princess or noble, so she's totally full of herself. And then she ends up becoming good friends with this kind of more delinquent girl, and they become fast friends, and it's about like friendships and relationships and hardships and stuff like that for their story. And I really liked it. And then the second half happens, and that follows a story about this girl who definitely falls in love with a guy who she shouldn't be falling in love with. Big age gap, not a big fan of it. I was kind of like, dang, this could have been a lot better if it just didn't happen. I would have liked to have been more focused on these two by the end of the story. But overall, I think it's okay. It's decent. It's fun. The character designs are pretty solid across the board, and there's some good art to be found in here. So, I'm interested to see what other stuff Yukio Kanasada has released, and if it has been released in English, because I would definitely like to check it out. Alright, up next, decided to read the 4th volume of Sketchy from Maki Hirochi. Love this series. This one continues a various story beats that it does get a little bit muddled here and there, especially like with who's and when these stories are supposed to be taking place. But overall, I love the overarching story. It basically follows a variety of these different female skaters in Japan, and as they are proceeding with their various lives, one of them is just the main character is kind of like just getting into skating. Another one is like a child prodigy who seems to be feeling imposter syndrome as she gets older, and the people around her seem to be getting better and she's not, and various other stories like that. So overall, I've been really enjoying it, and this was another very, very good volume of this series. Alright, up next, Blue Box, Volume 13. Yeah, I continue to really enjoy the series from Koji Miura. The main couple is now finally dating, hallelujah. It only took a while, but that's okay. I was happy with the slow burn. I really like the art as always. The action when it comes to the sports stuff is really, really great. And yes, I do wish there was more of a focus on the sports stuff, which I do appreciate in this volume specifically, but I do like the character moments. The character moments are really good, and the art continues to be fantastic. So interested to see how this story is going to continue as we continue reading it. Alright, up next, Juju on That Beat, Volume 24 from Gege Akutami. Yeah, we finally get to one of the biggest iconic moments, I would say, and one of the biggest plot twists in Jujutsu Kaisen at the time. I finally got to read it for myself after, you know, getting spoiled from it, like, what, 6 months ago or whatever. I really wish people didn't do that. It's really annoying. Please stop reading scans, and stop posting spoilers literally the day of, because it's just annoying. But other than that, yeah, I did enjoy it. You know, we got a really cool fight in this volume, and I'm really curious to see how the story is going to continue, even though I kind of already know what happens. So yeah, another decent volume, and I would say a redemption for the current Culling game arc, because I have not been a big fan of the Culling games. Alright, up next, decided to read Too Many Losing Heroines from Itachi, Takebi Amamori, and Imigimuru. Yeah, this one continues to be very, very funny. I actually really enjoyed this volume. This is like the beach thing for like the literature club / writing club. And yeah, we get some crazy little moments going on. I actually watched the anime part of this first, and then decided to read it because the volume came out a little bit later. But yeah, I continue to love this series. It's a lot of fun, and I can't wait to continue reading it. Alright, up next, decided to read the final volume of Blade of the Moon Princess from Tatsuya Endo, and yeah, my overall feelings and opinions about this is that it was okay. I mean, it wasn't gonna blow me away. I really wasn't completely blown away, because I don't really like the main character that much. She's not my favorite character, but I do like the art because it's Tatsuya Endo. The story, yeah, it does definitely feel like it just gets sped through towards the end. But yeah, I love like the action moments. The action looks really, really good. So there's some great panels. But yeah, just the characters are kind of fine, and the story is kind of fine. So overall, I thought it was a decent read. If you like Tatsuya Endo, I'd say pick it up. If you're not a big fan of Tatsuya Endo's stories or art and Spy Family, then I would just avoid this, because this is very much a tried and true Tatsuya Endo story. Up next, decided to read The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity Volume 3 from Saka Mikami, and yes, I love that characters are getting more growth. Love it a lot. This was a great volume. This continues to be a fantastic series. I do think I want to get a new volume though, because mine feels like it's really puffed up for some reason. I don't know why. So I might be looking to replace this copy at some point, but yeah, Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity. If you want like a really nice, kind of like Romeo and Juliet adjacent newer series, this one's a lot of fun. And I love the art, I love the characters, and yeah, I can't wait to see how their relationships continue to grow. Alright, up next, Blue Exorcist Volume 30, What Do You Know, from Kaze Kato. Loved it so much. This series is just so good. It looks like we're definitely getting into the final arc, which is, you know, it's a bittersweet moment, but I'm really excited to see how we're going to finish off with everything that has to do with Satan and Rin and Yukio, and how they're going to stop this from getting any worse. But overall, I loved it. This continues to be one of my favorite series for a very, very good reason. Alright, up next, Full Night Volume 3 from Kasumi Yasuda. What a fantastic series, and what a crazy volume. Holy moly. This volume ends on like a huge cliffhanger, and I was like just shook by what happens. But man, this series is super cool, really creepy, and just absolutely kind of ridiculous in a way. But I love the premise, I love the story, the characters are so good, and the art is absolutely gorgeous. Some really, really good paneling across the board. I'm just so entertained and hooked every time I read a volume, and I guess I'm like clamoring for the next volume already. I'm like, please, just come out already. But I know obviously that's not gonna happen, so I just have to wait patiently. But yeah, this series is probably one of my favorites to have been released in 2024. Alright, up next, another series that I am a huge fan of, Akane Banashi Volume 9 from Yuki Tsuenaga and Takamasa Moe. It definitely, the first part of this volume ends the arc in such a crazy way that I was kind of shocked as to how that happened, but I'm actually really, really happy that it did, because I love it when characters go through a certain circumstance, which I'm like skirting around the fact because I don't want to spoil it too much. But I mean, if you've read Akane Banashi, you kind of already know what happens. But this leads into like the festival mini arc. I don't know what you want to call it, but yeah, absolutely love this series, and another fantastic volume in the books. Alright, up next, decided to read Rainbows After Storms from Luca Kobachi. This is a slice of life Yuri series following the story about these two girls here who are now dating, but don't want to tell anybody about it. So it's fun, it's pretty light. I talked about this in the FBI, so if you want my full opinions on it, you can go check that out. But overall, I thought it was a nice, like, fluffy read. Pretty straightforward, nothing's gonna completely blow you away. Whenever they do something cute, it's like, aww, but like, yeah, the story is not necessarily the most well thought out or like the deepest in the world, but sometimes you don't really need that. Sometimes a lighter, simpler story just works. And it's kind of funny reading this too, because like you can kind of see how the husband-wife duo are influenced by one another, because Luca Kobachi is actually married to the creator of Akomi Can't Communicate. So when you read their two stories kind of back to back, there is a huge similarities between one another, so they're definitely rubbing off on each other in terms of their stories and how their characters are written. So overall, yeah, Rainbows After Storms is a pretty solid Yuri slice of life series where a lot of the chapters are very short, very quick, and gets right to the point. So yeah, I would say check it out. It's pretty fun. Alright, up next, I decided to read A Tale's Tale from Mizu Sahara, and yeah, I actually ended up really liking this one. Basically, it follows a story about these two here, where this kid is like, one of these kids is like constantly bullied, and she ends up becoming friends with him, finding out that he has a pig's tail, and it's like a big thing, and she decides not to judge him for who he is, and it's kind of like there's a lot of themes of like bullying and like treating people for being who they are versus what they look like and stuff like that. So overall, I ended up enjoying it quite a bit, and really, really love this color page, by the way. Just wanted to say that in the first page. Tokyo Pop has been really, really good at printing this kind of stuff, which I really appreciate, and I wish more publishers did. So yeah, overall, I thought this was a pretty nice read, and interested to continue reading it. Up next, decided to read Night of the Living Cat Volume 5 from Hawkman and Mecha Roots. This is a horror comedy series that I've talked about quite a bit on this channel, so I'm not really going to describe it too much, but it's been really, really fun. We finally get like a reunion between some characters that we met earlier in the series, and now they're back together, and some crazy stuff starts to happen within the base in this series, and it's getting really, really intense, and I'm excited to continue reading it because, yeah, this series, it continues to be ridiculous, stupid, but super funny and super fun, and the art is really, really good. So yeah, excited to continue reading it very soon. Alright, up next, decided to read I Want to End This Love Game Volume 4 from Yuki Domino. Yes, we're finally getting somewhere with this relationship. Hallelujah. I hope they stop with this stupid love game thing, because I think they would be such a good relationship together. Just somebody do something! I'm begging. We do finally get some of that in this volume, and I'm happy and excited. I'm like, oh, it's gonna happen soon, right? Right? I guess we'll see. But yeah, this was a great volume, and probably my favorite in the series to date. Alright, coming into the next pile, I decided to read Shimazaki in the Land of Peace from Goten Hamada and Takashi Sashimo. So this follows the story of this guy right here as he proceeds, or as he returns back to Japan after being kidnapped as a young boy and becoming like basically an assassin slash hitman slash mercenary slash whatever. So he's kind of trying to get acclimated back into normal life, but his past is starting to come back to catch up with him. It's pretty ridiculous slice of life action series, and I like it for the most part. I do think some parts are well done. I do think some of the art gets a little too simplified and seems a little off model, like especially like this section here, right? Like, so the character has a pretty like a shapely face, has a certain shape to it that has nice angles in certain sections, but then you get to this where it's like, why is his head so thin? Like, why does it look so different? So maybe that's just like a kind of like a rookie thing, or if it was done on purpose, I don't know if I like it too much, but overall I thought the story was pretty good, and yeah, excited to see how this story starts to shape up as we continue reading it. Alright, up next, Insomniacs After School, Volume 8, Makoto Ojiro, no notes, perfect, 10 out of 10, love this series, beautiful, lovely. I can't wait to continue seeing these characters grow and everything. It's yeah, I love this series. It's so good. Alright, up next, decided to read Luciole Has a Dream from Yu Morikawa. I talked about this in the recent FVI, but if you didn't go and watch that, this was a really interesting kind of post-apocalyptic, quieter slice of life series with a whole lot of mystery in it. Follows the story about these two here. One who's a kid who appears to have woken up outside of a pod and is following this dude here who claims to be a magician who's 500 years old. So it's really interesting. It gets very introspective at a lot of different points. The art is absolutely gorgeous, and yeah, it's just really interesting. I know it's on an indefinite hiatus from what I heard from somebody in the comments, so I am a little disheartened to continue reading it, but I will read it up until it no longer has any releases in English. Alright, up next, Candy and Cigarettes Volume 9 from Tomonori Inoue. We finally got to the end of the current arc, and it was really intense, especially with like this whole like city war that's going on. Definitely excited to continue reading it because yeah, this volume leads into the next arc, and I'm interested to see how our main character deals with that blonde girl, which I can't remember her name right now, but I hope they reconcile because yeah, man, there's a moment in this one that was like kind of wild. Alright, up next, decided to read the final volume of Mashle, Magic and Muscles from Hajime Komoto. This is volume 18, and we are officially done with Mashle. What can I say about the story? I mean, about the series in general? I thought it was pretty good. I liked a lot of parts of it, and I also disliked a lot of parts of it. I think the comedy is really, really good. I think some of the characters are well written and a lot of fun to follow. There are some characters like him with his sister complex. I'm so tired of the sister complex. I wish it would just blow up and disappear from any kind of stereotype or any kind of like stuff to be used in a series because it's annoying, it's weird, and I don't like it. So that's like one thing that I'll mention. I really wish that she did more in the story. She really doesn't do like almost anything, and it's kind of unfortunate. A lot of the characters really don't, other than Mashle, which I mean is fine. I get it. That's like that's the main character, but like I do wish that the side cast was used a little bit more throughout the series. But overall, I thought it was a nice, fun series. If you're looking for something that you can kind of just turn your brain off, giggle a little bit, and watch some pretty solid action, I think this is a series for you. And I think it had a nice little send-off at the end. Alright, up next, decided to read Nights with a Cat Volume 4 from QDZ, and yep, this is just continues to be a nice, silly, slice-of-life quick read about this two people who own this cat, and the cat's kind of goofy. I like it. I think it's fun, it's simple, and it gets the job done, and it'll make you laugh. If you have a cat, you're probably going to really, really enjoy this. Up next, decided to read the next volume of Hanakimi from Hisaya Nakajo. This is volume 4, and yeah, this series is pretty wild. I mean, it's kind of interesting to read it, and this further down the line than when it first released. But I actually like it. I think it's fun, and it's gonna get a re-release soon for the anime, or like not a re-release, but like a reboot / remake, which is very surprising. But yeah, I like it. I think it was fun, and I am actually excited to continue reading it. Up next, I got Volume 10 from Yuki no Botatsu. Oh boy, we are in the midst of the next arc, and I am definitely excited because holy shimole, the end of this volume has something go absolutely crazy, and we love that Momo gets a new power, kind of. So excited to continue reading the series. This is one of my favorite shonen series to be releasing in a long time, and you guys should definitely read it as well. Alright, up next, I decided to read Ashita no Joe, Fighting for Tomorrow from Masawa Takamori and Tetsuya Chiba. And yeah, the series, this was a really good first volume. I actually really enjoyed it. There's a lot of content here. I love how like ridiculous and intense it is. I don't know if I really like Joe Yabuki too much. I think he's really annoying. But obviously it's done on purpose because he's supposed to be delinquent, but you kind of start to like sympathize with him as you continue reading throughout the story, and you start to learn more about his background. But overall, yeah, if you thought this was going to be a boxing manga from the beginning, do not be fooled. It doesn't really become a boxing manga until almost the end of this entire omnibus. So yeah, just keep that in mind. But it's a pretty fun little delinquent like action series at first, and hopefully it becomes a very interesting boxing series as we continue. Okay, up next, I decided to read Kyuko-chan from Ueda Hajime. This is volumes 1 and 2, and this is the only 2 volumes, and all I could say is, like, what is this? I mean, the art is really good. I think the art's really cool, and I think the story has a lot of really interesting parts, and there's some cool characters here and there, but, like, the story just kind of ends. There's no conclusion. It just kind of finishes, and it doesn't even feel like it finishes in an interesting or good way, because it feels like nothing has been answered. There's so many questions left unanswered. Doesn't feel satisfactory. It doesn't even feel like bad. It's a terrible ending. It's a really bad ending, and I hate to be negative on this channel. I usually am not, but this arguably might be one of the worst things I think I've read, because it's so crazy how like there's a lot of really cool stuff in this first volume, and then you read the second volume and you're like, that's it? There's nothing else? You're kidding, right? So that's about as much as I can say about it without going on a huge tangent. But yeah, this was really unfortunate, and I would not suggest this to anybody, really. Alright, up next, decided to read Rumiko Takahashi's Rumik Theater from Rumiko Takahashi, if you couldn't tell. And yeah, this is a short story collection from the famed mangaka Rumiko Takahashi, and I loved it. I thought it was really cool. This is just a fun set of stories put together, with a lot of interesting stories. I ended up really liking the pottery one and also this old lady one. Those were probably my 2 favorite stories, but they were all really good, and has more of like the old school Rumiko Takahashi art. So if you're a fan of like Ranma 1/2 and Inuyasha's art, you're gonna love this quite a bit. I don't know how easy it's gonna be to find though. This is a very old volume if you couldn't tell, so I was really happy to find this. Alright, up next, I decided to read Spider-Man, Octo Girl from Hideyuki Furuhashi and Betancourt, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. I thought this was going to be way weirder, and honestly, it ended up being pretty cool. So it follows the story about Doc Ock. As he is about to die, he transfers his body, hopefully into a clone, but unfortunately something happens and he gets transferred into a young schoolgirl in Japan. So now he's trying to get his body back, while also like simultaneously trying to help this girl become more confident and stand up to her bullies and stuff like that. So it's pretty fun. I like the art a lot. I like the action. The action's pretty solid. It's from the same creator duo, I believe, from My Hero Academia Vigilantes, which I've wanted to read because I thought it always looked really cool, and it looked better, in my opinion, than My Hero Academia. But I don't know. I've never really taken the plunge, but maybe I will now. So yeah, ended up really liking this, and I'm excited for the next volume. Alright, up next, decided to read How Do We Relationship Volume 1 from Tamiful. Yeah, this basically follows a story about these 2 girls here who end up dating one another because out of convenience versus like true relationship. She's totally heads over heel for her, and she's like, wow, someone actually likes me? That's crazy. So then they start dating, and already there's been some problems in the first volume, and the best way to explain this is that this seems like it's going to be a really good story, but however, However, this character here hits a little close to home, or too close to home, with somebody that I used to know and have kind of split off from. Just the mannerisms and the way they speak and the way they talk and the way they looks way too similar to them. So I don't know if I can personally continue this story, just because I'm like, it gives me almost like PTSD for all of that. But honestly, it is a pretty solid story. I think it's going to be kind of interesting to see if people really like this one or not. Obviously, it's been going for a while now, so there's obviously a pretty large fan base, but yeah, it was a good first volume, but not sure personally if I'm going to be able to continue reading this. Alright, up next, decided to read Gigatown, a guide to manga iconography from Fumio Kouno. Yeah, this was really, really fun. Basically, it just is a bunch of 4 komas telling the stories of all the different kinds of, like, manga iconography, from, like, obviously, like, the angry symbol to random little lines and stuff like that. And it's told with, like, this old-school art style, and I just love it a lot. I love how the frog looks. He's one of my favorite characters. Yep, there he is. I believe his name is Greenie, and yeah, it's just silly, it's fun. You know, you're not gonna be like, wow, this story was like the best thing I've ever read, but I had a great time with it. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I would suggest reading it. It's yeah, it's very educational, and I enjoyed it. Alright, up next, decided to read the final volume of King in Limbo from Ai Tanaka, and this was such a good series. Absolutely loved it. I thought it was fantastic from start to finish. I'm happy with how it ended, and I really hope that Ai Tanaka's other series comes out in English print, which I forgot what it's called. I feel like it's like Apple Children of Aeon or something like that. But yeah, I loved this. This was super cool. The art was great. The action was fantastic. The story is genuinely very interesting, and the characters are so well done. You sympathize and empathize with so many of the characters, and I just loved it. It was so good, and shame on me for mostly forgetting about it, and finally getting this final volume and reminding myself, you know what, this was really, really good. Highly suggest picking this up if you're a big fan of like Banana Fish or any kind of like crime thriller, because yeah, it's just really, really good. And last but not least, I decided to read Semantic Error Volume 1 from Engi, and original story by Jay Suri. Yeah, it follows a story about these two here. This guy who's kind of like a coding expert, coding genius, who kind of slights a bunch of people in a group project because they didn't participate, and ends up canceling out someone's graduation. Canceling out this guy's graduation. This guy ends up getting a huge grudge about it, and they get into like this kind of like revenge plots between one another. It's ridiculous. It's fun. I ended up liking it quite a bit because it's just stupid and funny. There's some really great art. The color design is fantastic, and the paneling actually is done really, really well for the print release, because I believe this is supposed to be like a webtoon or something like that. So yeah, I ended up really, really enjoying it, and I see why people like it, and it was a great way to cap off 2024. So thank you for watching. Let me know what you read in 2024. What were your favorites and stuff like that, or what did you read in December? Let me know in the comments below. And you know what to do. You can like, you can comment, you can subscribe. Those are all amazing things. I really love it when everybody does that. It's amazing. It's fun to read stuff whenever you guys comment stuff. So I really, really appreciate it. And you know what to do. Yeah, why did I say that? I already said that. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.